Excellent, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our virtual Lunch and Learn session, a special event organized as part of the RPD PECSF 2023 campaign. My name is Jen Stubbs. I'm the Executive Director of Client Services here at Real Property Division. We're truly honored to have you all here today with us. I'd like to begin by offering a land acknowledgement. I am joining our meeting today on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen peoples, also known as the Esquimalt and Songhees Nations in Victoria, British Columbia. We pay our respects to their elders, both past and present, and express our gratitude for their enduring care of this land. As we gather from different virtual locations throughout British Columbia today, it's both an honor and a responsibility that we acknowledge the rich cultural heritage and deep-rooted connection that Indigenous peoples have had with this land, including the Coast Salish and Stolo nations, the Musqueam and this one's hard for me, Tsleil-Waututh nations, and many others who have lived and continue to live on these lands. Together, let us commit to creating a future where the right cultures and traditions of all Indigenous communities are respected and celebrated. Again, thank you for joining us today to be moved by a truly inspiring tale, one that exemplifies resilience, bravery, and the power of community backing. This story showcases the remarkable assistance provided by charitable organizations within our community. It's important to acknowledge that these charities receive support from the Public Service Employee Community Services Fund, PECSF. Today, we come together to celebrate the impact of this support and the positive change it brings to the lives of many. Up first on our agenda today, we're going to be joined by Kelly Hugli. Hi, Kelly. An esteemed member of the RPD family in our Workplace Development Services branch, and her daughter, Kyla, to share their battle with osteogenic sarcoma. Their journey's been marked not just by personal strength, but also by unwavering support of organizations like BC Children's Hospital, Ronald McDonald House, and the BC Cancer Foundation. Next on our agenda, we're honored to hear from Stephanie Mosier, who joined the Ronald McDonald House, BC and Yukon as the Vice President of Philanthropy in January of 2023. In her role, Stephanie leads the communications and fundraising team, bringing a wealth of experience and expertise to this organization. Stephanie, we have a few colleagues on the call today who've been directly involved with and positively impacted by Ronald McDonald House, including myself and one of my children. And I know we're really excited to hear about the great work happening in your organization. Continuing on our philanthropic exploration on the agenda today is Cherie Spence, the philanthropy officer from BC Children's Hospital, will bring us a valuable update. Cherie has worked in not-for-profit organizations for 15 years, supporting grassroots fundraising with a focus on connecting people to the causes they care most about. Cherie, we are very grateful to you for sharing your passion for nonprofit with us today. Finally, we'll be privileged to have Murray Langdon with us. In his professional endeavors, Murray focuses on assisting public sector organizations in cloud computing. However, today he's going to share his heartwarming tale of how he emerged as a true hero, not only leading the Hugli's team during the Tour de Rock, but he also supported them through Camp Good Times and served as an unwavering source of hope and support throughout their entire medical experience. We're going to wrap our session at 12:45, and I'm now going to turn it back over to Kyla, who will act as our moderator today.
Thanks, Jen. And hi, everyone. Once again, I'm Kaylee, and I'm happy to support as your moderator. I will be inviting the speakers to join us throughout the course of our presentation, and I will also be helping us stay on time if needed. A few quick housekeeping notes here. You can kindly keep your audio muted throughout the session to minimize any background noise. Although you're welcome and encouraged to share your video, please keep in mind that your video feed may be visible to others and that this session is being recorded. Feel free to turn off your video when necessary. And of course, there will be a Q&A session. During the Q&A session, you are welcome to raise your hand to ask any questions, or you can include your question in the chat, and I'll be happy to ensure that our speakers can hear those and answer any questions you may have through the chat. With that, it is my pleasure to now introduce us to our guest speaker, Kelly, who will be here today as a member of our RPD team. She is a project coordinator from the Workplace Development Services branch, and she will also introduce her daughter, Kyla. Kelly, over to you.
Thank you, Kaylee. So my name is Kelly Hugli. I've been a public servant for the province for the past 27 years. I started in Prince George in 1996 as an administrative assistant with the Social Development and Economic Security. I moved to Courtenay on a compassionate transfer in the year 2000. And then through a workforce adjustment in 2004, I was transferred to Victoria. During that time in Courtenay, I had taken Kyla. Kyla was complaining about knee pains, and she had, I took her to a walking clinic in Courtenay, and they had said it was just growing pains. So by the time I got to Victoria, it progressively was worse, and I took her into another clinic here in Victoria. I was 2 weeks into my job with Ministry of Transportation, and they asked me to take her in for x-rays, which I did. And then we went through a bunch of different tests and stuff like that. And it was that night that I received the information. I received the news that Kyla was diagnosed with osteogenic sarcoma. And then we were rushed over the next day over to BC Children's. And I can say the whole scenario at the start was stressful. Where were we going to stay? I had heard of all these places like the Ronald McDonald House and BC Children's, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, BC Cancer Society, and Tour de Rock, but I never had thought like all of these charities would eventually touch me in some way with my family and I. I can say that although Kyla never stayed too often at the Ronald McDonald House, she was generally at BC Children's. But I would take that time to go in there and rest and sleep. In the summer months, I was allowed to have my 8-year-old son stay with me, so it brought our family together. But the few times that Kyla did go with me, the support from the Ronald McDonald House and from other families going through the same experiences really allowed one to feel like they were not alone. So without further ado, I will introduce my daughter, Kyla. We'll just switch headsets here.
Thank you, Mom, or Kelly, I should say. My name is Kyla Hugli, and I am a 19-year-old childhood cancer survivor. I am honored and thankful that you have invited me to this very special Lunch and Learn. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all the amazing treatment I received from BC Children's, all the new cancer research and studies in today's time versus the past goes above and beyond with donations made to this hospital. BC Children's is all about the kids and making sure we are cared for and felt at home as much as possible, as we can be admitted for days or weeks at a time. In most hospitals, you are isolated to just your room to avoid getting infections or getting sick. We are able to roam the entire ward. They had TVs, an entire play area with video games, a computer, crafts, toys for little ones. We weren't bored looking at the four walls of our rooms. Nurses and doctors really got to know you and become family and don't treat you as just another patient. The hospital food was also very appetizing and appealing, as they encourage you to eat to gain weight and way better than what hospitals serve you at other places. Although I only experienced it for 1 year with my brother, as siblings, we were allowed to attend was Camp Good Times. It was the best week of my life. As a cancer survivor, I had scars from surgery, short hair at the time, and was very insecure about myself. It was truly amazing to be able to go to camp with other kids, the same situations, and they don't judge you for that either. I felt comfortable and had a blast meeting others and just being a teenager. There are doctors and nurses that attend each week who assist in medications for kids if they are still on them or if something happened regarding any medical emergencies. It was just a chance to get away from the daily struggles of cancer and just have the best week of the year. As you will hear later in this Lunch and Learn, the Tour de Rock rides for kids with cancer, and my rider during the time was Murray Langdon. He was a huge support towards my mom, brother, and myself, and we made an amazing bond that year. If it wasn't for BC Children's Hospital and the amazing care I received, or Camp Good Times, giving me a new perspective on life and learning just to be a kid, and all that donations to go into amazing places like these, I wouldn't be here 19 years later with two amazing kids of my own, a career I love, and sharing my life with my family and friends. Thank you.
Haley, I think you're muted.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. Kelly and Kyla, thank you. It was an inspiring story, and we appreciate you sharing. And I'll ask Kelly if there's anything else you wanted to share at this time.
No, that's it. I would just like to say thank you to everybody for joining in on this amazing Lunch and Learn and hearing the story, and it's very close to my heart.
Amazing. Well, thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to our next guest speaker. I'd love to invite Stephanie Mosher, the Vice President of Philanthropy at Ronald McDonald House, to share a bit about an update on Ronald McDonald House.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me, Kaylee, to this. And thank you so much, Kelly and Kyla, for your incredible story. There's really nothing better than hearing from people who have benefited from the work that we do every day. And I'm sure Cherie is thinking the same thing in her role and about to present next. There's nobody else than a family that's been touched by the house or by BC Children's. Nothing better than hearing about their great experience. So I hope everyone can can see my screen properly. I might just need to put it into presenting mode. There we go. So my name's Stephanie, as Kaylee said, and I work for Ronald McDonald House, and it's just such a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you a little bit today about what the house is and what the house does, although Kelly really reiterated that quite well. I almost feel a bit repetitive in some cases. But this year, the Ronald McDonald House celebrated its 40th anniversary. And so over the last 40 years, we've served and supported over 25,000 families. We are very lucky to be located right on BC Children's and BC Women's campus, obviously providing the highest level of pediatric care in the province. And we really have an intentionally built space that has programs. We have a variety of programs such as our wellness programs, that's music therapy, art therapy, massage therapy, movement and mindfulness. And weekly we have family meals, which are dinners or breakfasts, and soup and sandwiches on Friday to really provide the comfort of home for families who are staying here. We do serve approximately 73 families per night. Right now, currently in the house, there are 72 families staying with us. And we are running, I would say, especially since the pandemic restrictions have eased, I'll say, we are pretty much running at 100% capacity every week. Every year we serve over 2,000 families, although some of those families are repeat visits, coming back to the city for checkups. And as you just heard, there's the 1 in 4 story, but we do say that we touch 1 in 4 Canadians, so someone will know or have been directly impacted by the work that we do here at Ronald McDonald House. For a little bit of context, thinking about where folks might come from the province, for those that don't know, to stay at a Ronald McDonald House, you need to live 40 or more kilometers outside of the Lower Mainland. So while we're based here in the Lower Mainland, all the families that we serve are everywhere else across the province. And so this is a little bit of a breakdown just from stats in 2022. We served over 151 communities last year, and that breaks down, about 26% in the interior, 22% on the island, A large percentage, a quarter of the families come from northern BC, and then a bit of a breakdown across sort of the Sea to Sky Sunshine Coast. Fraser Valley, 5% actually from the Yukon, the Kootenays, and then other areas of the province. The reasons for families staying here, I'd say right now, we have about 60% of the families staying here related to oncology, but in 2022, that stat was larger. It was NICU, followed by cancer, prenatal care. Again, we're supporting families not only staying at children, but moms and families often staying at women's, and then followed by a number of other things, cardiology, neurology. Prenatal care, you can imagine, and a large and growing focus on mental health as well. I wanted to share the story. You just heard an amazing story, but I wanted to share a really special story of the Rowan family. Giha is 14 years old. She just turned 15 actually, and she's been staying at the Ronald McDonald House for almost 300 days. And Gia's family was shocked to find out last spring that she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. She was really forced to trade her normal teenage life of school and sports and band practices for doctor's appointments and chemotherapy sessions. And her and her sister and her dad were often still living back in West Kelowna, where they're from, would travel back down to the house on the weekends to spend time together. And they really enjoyed a lot of the core programs that we run here, like our music therapy program. Giha and her mom often participate in our art therapy program. And I think, it's really making a really challenging day bearable when she can come back and have the Ronald McDonald House. And she's created many friends in the house, as well as, obviously many of the families, like I just said, based on the stats of why folks travel here, they're going through the same thing. And so you really create that connection and bond. So yeah, that's a little bit about Giha. And then finally, I just wanted to say, obviously, thanks to amazing partnerships like this and the great work that you do in investing in your communities and, donating, things from your payroll and all the other campaigns like this, it's so greatly appreciated. So I wanted to share a little bit of some stats of the impact that you make. So again, families traveled from over 50 kilometers away, but they are just 575 steps from the hospital. In 2022, the average length of stay was 29 nights, but we had 332 nights was the longest stay last year. And this year we have a family that's actually been here now cumulatively 427 nights. So that's a long, long time, right? That's over a year for a family to be here. In 2022, we served over 1,400 healthy siblings so that they could stay close to their brother or sister at the hospital. Over 10,000 meals and 5,000 grab-and-go bags. Our grab-and-go bags are healthy snacks that folks can take and grab on their way to the hospital, so they have something nutritious to enjoy while they might be waiting in between appointments. Again, I touched on this before, but up to 2,000 families a year we serve. We're open 24/7, 365 days of the year. We don't close. On average, we say that we save families that stay here between $3,000 and $6,000 per month. And then, the house is a really magical, playful place. And so we say countless games of hockey, trips down the slide. We have a beautiful yellow slide, lots of birthday parties and other memories that we create for families while they're staying here. So I just wanted to end by saying thank you so much. The work that you do matters so much to these families that we support, and I'm just again so grateful to have the job that I have and get to keep doing and meeting groups like this that are amazing supporters and contributors of what we do here. So thank you.
Thank you. That was a beautiful presentation, Stephanie, and some really touching stories. And I'll just pause in case anybody has any questions. Wonderful. And I'm just going to now introduce and welcome Cherie Spence, the Philanthropy Officer of BC Children's Hospital. Cherie, thank you for joining us today. And it's a pleasure to have you with us. And I'd like to invite you to share a bit about the BC Children's Hospital and give us an update now.
All right, so just a moment here while I get my screen set up. All right, does everyone can see that? Okay, great.
It looks great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. I was really excited to be able to speak with the group at PECSF because you guys have basically been supporting us since the very beginning, since we opened our doors in 1982. So I just wanted to thank you so much for being amazing partners in helping us advance childhood care across the province. So in my presentation, I'm just going to talk a bit about what makes Children's Hospital more than just a hospital, and then how PECSF makes an impact and donor support makes an impact. So just some stats about the hospital. We're the only full-service acute care pediatric hospital that serves the 1 million children in the province, BC and the Yukon. Our patients here range in age from newborn babies to 18 years old. BC Children's Hospital is widely recognized as a leader in specialized innovative therapies and groundbreaking research. And we've also been ranked as one of the top 5 pediatric hospitals in the world. So like PECSF, we serve the entire province. It's the largest geographic region of any children's hospital in North America. In 2022, more than 130,000 patients received treatment from the hospital. As you can see from this map, a large amount of those patients come from outside the Lower Mainland. But if there is a complex health condition like cancer, they will be treated at BC Children's Hospital. And we also offer traveling and virtual clinics along with a telehealth program to make sure kids can get care wherever they need it, not just in Vancouver. So this slide really just shows a bit of impact from 2022. I won't read the entire slide, but I just wanted to point out that 150 kids were diagnosed with cancer last year, and experts at BC Children's provided treatment and care through more than 11,000 outpatient visits and 660 inpatient visits. So our campus is a very special place, and I think it's probably changed a lot since Kelly and Kyla were at the campus, but I wanted to point out our Tech Acute Care Center, which is at the top right of the screen. It's our biggest building on site, and it opened our doors in we opened our doors in 2017 after a fundraising campaign of 10 years and more than 80,000 donors who came together to support. The building is more than 640,000 square feet and has 231 inpatient rooms, as well as various clinics like our emergency room and operating room, as well as our oncology and hematology department, which is actually on the 9th floor of the hospital. And that was designed on purpose because it limits the amount of people that are needing to come in and out of that space. Obviously, kids with cancer have really compromised immune systems, so limiting any of contact with viruses is necessary. There's there's a special filtration system that helps to filter out any of the viruses or germs. And as well, all the care can be accessed on the one floor. So kids, they don't have to travel all around the hospital to get the care that they need. It's all concentrated on the 9th floor. And I think back when Kyla was receiving treatment, it was 2 different areas of the hospital. So it caused a lot of back and forth for patients as well as caregivers. I'll also point out we have our Sunny Hill Health Center. It's the only pediatric rehabilitation and developmental service facility of its kind in BC. So this is where kids go if they are recovering from a traumatic injury or they're being treated for cerebral palsy. We also have our Healthy Mind Center. Mental health is actually a big priority for the hospital. Sadly, what our current stats are saying is that about 95,000 children and youth in BC are living with mental health conditions. But only 40% are receiving the help they need. So that's why it's important that we include mental health as it's part of a comprehensive approach to improving childhood health. And the last area I'd like to point out is our Research Institute, which I kind of just wanted to pay particular attention to today because it really cannot be overstated how important the work of the Research Institute is doing for patients at BC Children's Hospital. There are about 1,200 researchers currently working here on leading scientific discoveries. And 70% of those researchers are actually healthcare professionals. So they provide care at the kids at the hospital, and they also have a research component to their work. Currently, we have about 679 clinical studies that are underway to develop new treatments and transform care. So this is really where the donor support comes in and the impact. Donations provide vital funding for the hospital's priority needs, which includes programs, equipment, people, research, and the clinical trials. I think one of the most impactful stats is that in the 1980s, only about 20% of children diagnosed with cancer survived. And now, because of research, the survival rate for cancer, childhood cancer, is 80%. Of course, that is not enough. We're on a mission to really cure those 20% of kids who don't make it. This means that donor funding helps us attract, train, and retain the top pediatric specialists and researchers at our campus. It's donor generosity that has powered an environment where impactful life-saving research thrives, and it's a genuine priority among our programs. In fact, BC Children's Hospital is part of an international study aimed at clinical trials for osteogenic sarcoma, which includes researchers from Harvard. They're developing new tools to understand the genetic complexity of how cancerous cells spread and survive throughout the body. Osteogenic sarcoma is a very fast-spreading cancer, so the tools will allow the researchers to identify the cells within the tumors that have a high capacity for metastatic spread and isolate those cells from the original tumor and then target therapies to limit and prevent their spread. So really, to summarize, I really wanted to again express my gratitude and thanks for your continuing support of BC Children's Hospital. And I just wanted to leave you with our Small as Mighty ad that I hope you've seen in your communities and are inspired by. And just thank you again for helping us be mighty for BC's kids.
Wow, amazing, Cherie. Thank you so much. Yes, that campaign is amazing, as is the impact of your organization. It's incredible to, to hear all of the breadth of care that you have, from cancer and mental health to the Research Institute, and how broad your reach is across the province and into the Yukon. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
And I'll just pause in case there is any questions for Cherie. Great. Well, with that, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce the last but certainly not the least, Murray, who we have heard such great things, warm things from the Hugli family. So Murray, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'll pass the baton over to you.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm very pleased to be here. As someone who's spent several years in the public service, I'm always really heartened at the opportunity to showcase what folks within the public service do, and not just the day-to-day prosecution and delivery of services for the public, but all the other things that sometimes go unseen about the community supporting community endeavors. When we think about leadership, I think some of the public is aware of what takes place through the BC Public Service and the Crown agencies, but I think the opportunity to showcase that and spread the word more is always welcome, because a lot of what happens in civil society is supported by folks within the BC public sector. So hats off to all of you, and thanks very much for joining. I'm going to share a brief PowerPoint, if that's okay. I will try and do this somewhat seamlessly, and let me know if everyone can see this okay.
Looks great.
Okay, and I'll try and go full screen. And does that look okay?
We are still seeing your entire presentation there, Marie.
Okay, well, then what I will do, I'm not going to fuss around with this. I'm just going to make it short and sweet, and I'll just go like that, if that's okay.
That looks great.
Okay. So where does it all start? Well, for those, maybe a lot of folks know about the Tour de Rock, but just as a quick preface, the Tour de Rock is a cycling endeavor that takes place every fall. This year's version just wrapped up, and it's about 1,000 kilometers that passes through, a few dozen communities on Vancouver Island. And the ridership component is made up of law enforcement and emergency service personnel. And back when I did it, and it was in year 7, they also had a member of the media that would accompany these folks to help tell the stories. Tell the stories not just of the riders, but of the communities we visited and the folks like Kyla. When I got involved with this, I was not aware of just how profound the impacts of childhood cancer was. And so I really began a period of education in and around this. And so what I needed to really focus on was what it was all about. And it was all about this. It was all about kids. It was all about community. And it was all about accepting the leadership opportunity to step up for those fighting in a life-threatening situation. And as Kelly mentioned too, it isn't just the children, and it's certainly not to minimize it. It's a whole family impact. We have folks like Kyla that are battling this disease, but there is a profound impact on a day-to-day basis for families as well too. So it is a life-altering experience for everyone involved. In asking why get involved, I learned a lot about myself, and it was really through folks like Kyla who inspired me. We get involved to help those that are actually making a difference, that are standing up while going through this awful and traumatic experience, and they are the ones that are showing true leadership. It provides an opportunity to be part of something bigger than ourselves and to connect with others in ways that we normally wouldn't. And I think I started to find out more about myself because of folks like Kyla and Kelly and all the families and all the kids that were involved in this. So we set off on a very long and arduous training period, and we got set for the ride. When I was growing up, I was inspired by folks who were demonstrating leadership. In Kyla's case, I believe she had, if not the exact same, a very similar cancer to Terry Fox. And I often thought about the impact that Terry Fox built for Canada and still leaves to this day. And I was struck by the one phrase in this quote of his, that somewhere the hurting must stop. And that only happens when we seize upon the opportunity to actually make a difference to that. When we put out our program for the Tour de Rock, and it's kind of an artifact now, you can tell it's a lot of hair ago, Kyla told her story about why she was stepping up. And to this day, she remains humble in what she went through. It was very arduous. It was very difficult. She had a knee replacement. She had to learn to walk again. And she did this with a smile all the way. Her story touched a lot of people on Vancouver Island and really brought people forward. I still have the original printout of this story that Kyla shared, and I keep it here in the house with me. Success comes with partnership, and that means realizing that we are all part of something bigger, and it means we all need to get involved. The time and effort spent in training and completing the ride pale in comparison to what kids were having to deal with, and in a lot of ways, that is what drove us forward. We don't succeed alone, and what we found was communities respond, because childhood cancer resonates with folks in a way that very few other conditions do. And the sheer amount of support, physically, financially, and spiritually, that came forward all throughout Vancouver Island, which extended all the way to the Lower Mainland, was profound. I had items that Kyla had given me that I cycled with on my bike. And the whole journey was to complete 1,000 kilometers and end up in the heart of the capital region. My particular fundraiser was I grew my hair out, oddly enough, similar to what I'm doing now. And it was to shave it off at the conclusion of the ride. And Kyla and her family, you could see Brad there too in the little silver coat. They were all there. They were all part of this journey. And in focusing on them and what we needed to do to help them out was what kept our legs pedaling. It was rainy, it was cold, it was dark, it was sometimes challenging. We had near accidents, but we had all made a pledge that we were going to stay with this, keep our focus, keep our commitment. And the children and the families that we met along the way only reinforced that. The days were hard, the days were long, but again, they are nothing compared to what children are battling with on a day-to-day basis. So it continued to drive us on. I look back at this time, and when I hear Kyla talking about her family, how she's a parent now, it was very hard to imagine what that outcome would look like. But as others have shown, not only the survival rate has increased dramatically and continues to increase, but the opportunity for us to help support that effort also increases too. It hasn't gone away, and it does remind us that we need to continue to engage in partnership. This was a period in my life. I've always been a big lifelong volunteer, and I'll continue to be so. As the leadership of this group has demonstrated, all of these journeys are just one step towards the next opportunity, and the chance to make a difference does lie within all of us. And when we have a focus like Kyla and Kelly and Brad and the family, it really brings out the best in all of us and really guides us on a path of what we can accomplish collectively. I have my certificate. This was, it's a piece of paper, but it's a reminder that stays in my house. And I've shared this story with my children about what it meant to be part of a group that was fighting to make a difference for those fighting for their lives. And amongst all my accomplishments, this is among, if not the proudest I have, to be able to lend my time and effort to fight for people that are making a difference. And maybe I'll leave you with this. This is an ongoing situation. And I look back to Terry Fox, I think of what Kyla and Kelly have said. We do need to continue. And this is not a one-time effort. In the Tour de Rock in particular, it was billed to us as you do this once and once only. It was the only time I was able to participate because if you do, you give it your all. But the job is not finished. And that means it needs to continue with and through all of us. And I think the payoff is evident, not only back from 2004, but also to 2023, because the young woman that you saw, who's now a public servant, who's now a parent, and who's now making a difference in her community, still to this day, 19 years later, that's what leadership is all about. This young woman, as a teenager, inspired me to reach higher, to do better, and to fight harder. And she's doing that today too. So in recognition of what you folks do, I want to say thank you. And all that you do, and to continue to do what we can do collectively to help make a difference. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Murray. That was really an inspiring story and a beautiful presentation. And thank you for sharing with us. And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Jen. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to all the presenters today. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to each of you for joining us today. Also, as guests, your presence and participation have made this session truly special. I'm incredibly moved by the inspiring stories and valuable insights that have been shared. I'm delighted to highlight our participation in PECSF as a public service. The organizations you see here today are all recipients of the positive impact of what we do here with PECSF here in the BC Public Service. By actively participating in the campaign, we embody the spirit of community, compassion, and camaraderie that defines the BC Public Service. Together, we can make a difference, one contribution at a time. And as Murray has reminded us, these aren't just financial contributions. There's an opportunity for us to participate in our community, and make no mistake, every contribution benefits someone somewhere. Least of which yourself. And that is the spirit of service that exemplifies the BC Public Service, and it doesn't need to stop in our day jobs. I encourage you to explore more about PECSF and donate through our online portal. It just takes a moment, and we've heard today just how much it can help. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Kaylee, for keeping us all organized and herding our cats over the course of the last couple of weeks. Amazing job. It's 12:43 with multiple presenters. I'd say that's an extraordinary talent you've got there.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for such a valuable lunch and learn. Have a great day. Care. Bye.